Been 20 years that I've started working, and I finished my grad school, and I took on to doing an employment. In fact, one of my first roles that I took up was a completely male-dominated industry of sales, and one of the first roles that I had to do is help the employees with their presentation skills and sales pitch. And it was a tech company, and they were selling technology solutions. At that time we used to have, and I think everybody will know my age if I say this, but the floppy disks and the CDs and other technology solutions. So at that point, I think the first day of office was a very nervous self, but I think once I got into the office, and I also saw that there aren't really too many women around, I realized the only way to build your credibility and get respect is really diligence and hard work. So at the end of it, people overlook what gender you belong to if you add value to their lives. And moving on through my career, I worked in a KPO, I worked in a BPO, then I worked with an insurance company, I worked with a retail company, and now obviously Welspun is a large conglomerate. The experience that I had at my first job of diligence, hard work, relating to people, and always remembering that why should people listen to you? People will listen to you when you have value, when you look at them as an internal customer that you're servicing. So no matter what role you're doing, you could be very well in a role of an operations manager, or you could be a banker, you could be somebody from the telephone industry who doesn't directly interact with customers. But at the point is, if you put a mindset that today, as an employee itself, I'm here to service people. I'm here to really look at options of adding value to their lives, making their lives better and easier. I think that is when people sit up and take respect. And respect brings you a sense of authority. It gives you direction. It also gives you a lot of responsibility. So I think these mantras have always worked for me. And interestingly, there have been many times in my career where I was the only woman in a board meeting, or I was the only woman in a large meeting with a lot of male counterparts. And day in and day out, I remember the one mantra that I always believed, be prepared, go with your homework, don't go make excuses, make sure that you understand the people that are sitting around you, what would matter to them, what would they really want to listen. If you do your homework well, you go prepared, and you speak with confidence and you're authentic, I think any meeting that you are addressing, or any groups of people that you're addressing, you will fly with absolutely, you will come out with flying colors. So I've always built this among the teams that I've led, that we must embody all that we speak, we must embody all that we take ahead, and in our workshops and our interactions with leaders. So staying authentic, staying positive, a lot of hard work ensures that you get respect, and ensures that the value that you add in other people's life is consistent. Yeah, so that's been my journey in a nutshell. So I remember once I was actually going with my managing director, and it was a meeting that we were, and like I said, it was my first job, and it was a sales pitch that we were making. And I had gone as an observer if the sales team was there, and as I had gone as an observer to say, hey, what is it that how are they doing their role? So we went for the meeting once. The person there didn't meet us. We went again, kept us waiting for almost 45 minutes to an hour, and then he announced that something's come up and he's not met us. He didn't meet us. And then we went the third time and the fourth time, and this became a trend. So at the end of it, I asked my director at that point, and I took all the guts to ask him that, why are we doing this? Why do we keep going back to the person? Maybe he's just not interested in meeting us, So, and why do we seem like we have to go back for his business? There's so many other people's businesses that we can go to. And I remember the lesson that I learned. He said, because, our job is to make sure that we provide him with the best solution, and maybe he's genuinely busy, and maybe it is really not intentional. So why give the person a benefit of the doubt? Because every time he's had an interaction with us, he's always been interested, and we've come here with a plan, and we've genuinely seen the environment. It just got busy last minute, and he couldn't. So I remember having, I listened to him, but I honestly did not really believe it. But there was a day that I had walked into I think it was somewhere midweek, and we were all in office. It was in early hours of the day, and I saw this gentleman actually walk into our office, and he reached the reception. It was a very small setup, so we could all see each other. And he walked up to the reception and he asked for my managing director, and he said, I'd like to meet him because I think, they've been coming to the office, and I've really come to kind of apologize and meet them here. And I remember at that point, we went ahead with the meeting, and of course the managing director was completely shocked. And this was such a huge learning experience in my life that, sometimes we misread people, or we have our own baggages, or we have our own egos when we go to work, saying that maybe, the person on the other hand is just trying to, bring us down, or the person is just not genuine. But I think it's really important to be able to understand people, empathize with people, and at the same time observe, what they're doing. Because this act by this individual who came in later to meet us, and obviously eventually in a couple of months we got that sales deal, and we were working with them for an extended period. It left an impression that, when you do business, it's all about relationships, it's all about patience, it's about taking risks, and it's about challenging your assumption. So as a new MBA student, my thought was always that, why should I have to go and wait for somebody's office? I have so much to offer, the person should realize. And then we genuinely heard this gentleman out, and he said, I had these reviews that were going on, so I couldn't meet you, and this was my way of just coming back and, saying that let's get the business ahead. So there have been such great incidences, and honestly this happens to a lot of us. But what is most important that I believe is for all of us to really introspect, not just go by our work life or even our personal life and, go with the flow is great. But it's equally important to stand by, introspect. What did you learn from that incident? What did it tell about yourself? What did it tell about the people around you? And what will you take back and do differently the next time? So I think these were some of the lessons that I picked. Keep people's minds busy, so engage them in some form of learning, knowledge. This is a time when business is probably for many of us slightly slower than usual. Use this time to sharpen your saw. The second, build really strong networks and connects within your team, right? So the second thing is engaging the entire team to do a fun activity. And I think the third one is, like I call it, make it hyper personalized. We really are in a period where all of this, we're living both these lives together. And I think as leaders and managers and supervisors, it's extremely important for us to get people to realize that you care about them, you empathize with them, and yet keep them engaged, keep them motivated, and keep them positive. I think all of us have to find our own rhythm, and there is no one-size-fits-all approach in this. You know what are your strengths, you know what your workday looks like, you know what are your demands in the family. And but I will tell this to women that do ask for a lot of help. You'll be surprised how mature your kids could be. There are times when I've had to take calls when she's had an exam or she's had this, and I've actually sat down and explained to her that I'll not be available at that point, but I'll help you earlier, and we'll work on it together. And trust me, she's just a 10-year-old, but she completely empathizes with me. So it's just it's just pure teamwork. And I think with a little bit of planning and a little bit of patience, stay calm, keep yourself absolutely healthy, hydrated, do a lot of stretches through the day, and keep your mind calm, and then everything else will just fall in place. I think I have always experienced this, with whichever leader that you work, if you're really brilliant at your work and you're hardworking, you're diligent, and you don't make excuses, you show up, people will respect you. So I have a few lists of things that has really worked for me, and I will kind of share that with you. Like I always say, the first one, which I was talking about in the earlier example, even from your home, first one is to know is that know your own strengths, right? You need to know your strengths. You need to know what you're really naturally good at, effortlessly good at, and what you're not so good at. And when you know that these are my strengths, right? Being a woman leader, I've always played on my strengths more rather than spend an entire lifetime working only on my weakness. So I think it's very important, one, know what comes naturally to you. So some of us are effortless with negotiation. Some of us are very effortless with building relationships. Some of us are effortless with analytics and finance, right? So know what your strengths are and know how to leverage them. And most importantly, once you know your strengths, you of course make a list of things that you need to get better at, and you can work towards it. However, what I realize that a lot of women, they don't always ask for help. So whether it's from their colleagues or their spouses, their partners, whether from their kids or from their environment, we still have this mindset that of the superwoman. And honestly, I don't think anything like that can exist. If even Superman and Spider-Man, they all needed help, right? Even Wonder Woman needed help. So if you watch that movie carefully, all the movies, they'll always have somebody motivating them. There's an inspiration behind it, and they need help. All heroes need help from different sources. So if you think you're a hero who can do it all by yourself, it's just not possible. You must know what your strengths are, what comes naturally to you, what would be easy for you to do, and ask for help. And I think the third thing that I will talk about is prioritize. I live by the 80-20 rule. And what I mean by that is that, understand in your work schedule or in your life, what are those 20% of things which will have an impact on 80% of your life, right? So for me, health was one such challenge that I had faced, wherein at one point I wasn't really taking care of my health, and then I got into a health issue, and I never wanted to go back to that. So in my 20% bucket that I have, health is something that I completely prioritize. Spending time with family, I prioritize. My own self-development, I prioritize, because if you are not full of knowledge, if you have nothing to offer which people can otherwise look up on Google and read, you will not add value to people's lives, right? So taking care of your health, your mental well-being and your physical well-being, being with your family, whether it's your parents or your spouse or your children or your siblings, making sure that you are able to, put in enough time in a particular day. At least 10 minutes you must give to your self-development. And I think 10 minutes anyone can put in. It's not, I'm not saying that sit and read for an hour or finish a novel in a week. You set your own rhythm and say 10 minutes of the day I will do something which is directly linked to my development. So it could be picking up a small new skill, right? Or it could be reading about something interesting. It could be hearing a TEDx video. It could be looking up at articles, right? Or it could be even sharing knowledge with people and thereby gaining knowledge in return. So I think having some time earmarked for yourself in your calendar, say 10 minutes of self-development. I always put that on my calendar. I always either put it on the beginning or the end of the day, where I know I need to go and do something which I haven't done. And I think for a lot of women, we don't always raise our hands up enough. And by that I mean, I have seen this, you will immediately have, when I ask for volunteers, I've managed teams which are very diverse, both men and women together, and I've seen whenever I ask for help or volunteer, I know that sometimes the women will be better at doing that job, but typically they'll not raise their hands up as much. And also because that happens, you're thinking that, if I do take up this project, I'll have to put in extra hours, or I will have to stay back after office, or how will I manage, or what if I have to come on the weekend? There are all these thoughts that are playing in the back of your head. So I think you need to have a good solid support system at home, and if you are serious about having a career, and if you're serious about making a dent, like I said, contributing to your job and to the country, right, it's very important that you create that support system. And I think the other point that I'd like to add here is, I think women don't talk about their achievements as much. We don't believe in branding and creating a self-brand about ourselves, so it's not really marketing, or it's not about talking something that you haven't done, but it's extremely important that you kind of place it out there, tell people what you're good at. And I think women always say this, that my work will speak for myself. Yes, it does, but sometimes people who are not in continuous touch with you, for them to know what's your background, where you're from, what kind of work you've done. You must unabashedly be proud about your achievements and talk about it. I think the last one that I'd like to talk about is share your story. So I think women don't have enough role models in the corporate world, at least, where they can look up to and talk to women. And we face a lot of challenges internally, wherein you don't know how to go about it. You don't know. You're a little baffled. You're a little lost about how do I manage this. I think this person is probably not being fair to me. How do I articulate to this person? So I think it's very important, women who are successful, for them to also mentor 2-3 other younger women, especially women from colleges, women who are just starting out in their career. Mentor them, coach them. That's your way of giving back. Share your story all the time. Inspire people around you with your stories. And I think if you do that, as women folk, I think we will not only help, like I said, our own ecosystem, but also definitely help the nation at large. So I think at some point, no matter what age you are and what's your background, it's important that you have a very curious mind. You have an open mind. You're constantly learning, right? You're constantly seeking out new information. You're constantly evolving. So keep an open mind. At no point, if you don't feel a little uncomfortable, if you don't feel a little, you don't feel that little butterfly in your stomach every morning, then you're not challenging yourself enough. So, be open, have a positive mind, engage your mind fruitfully, and make sure that no matter what you're doing, whether you are just starting your career, you're in the middle somewhere, or you're sitting at the top, there's always a way for you to give back to the society, give back to other women leaders and women entrepreneurs and women colleagues. So do that, share your story, and keep learning, unlearning, and relearning.